At the tone, the broadcast will begin. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, noon to 3 Eastern each and every weekday right here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM Channel 375, and all of our great radio affiliates across the country. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla, broadcasting live from Chicago. If you want to join us today, you can call us at 310-840-4910. We've got news flying at us today, Abdalla. News from the Combine. The NFL Combine, GMs are speaking today. A lots to get to over the next 3 hours.
It's make nice season and everything is on the table season. That's what you're going to hear from the GMs today. Everybody's friends. A.J. Brown is going to be an Eagle for life.
Sure.
Max Crosby is going to be a Raider for life. And guess what? Everything's on the table with Tua Tagovailoa. Everything's on the table with Daniel Jones. Everything's on the table with everybody. That's the way it is. Well, they're not going to tell you anything.
Yeah, people in Indy, they're trying to wheel and deal over a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
And that's the famous dish of Indianapolis is everyone goes to the famous place, St. something?
St. Elmo's.
St. Elmo's,
yes.
And they get the shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
And all the reporters and media light people, they all have to make a comment on social media about said shrimp cocktail.
Yeah.
And then you rub elbows with those who are trying to make deals in the NFL offseason. And so we have a lot to get to here on the show. If you want to join us today, 310-840-4910. I think as we get things started, the conversation around Max Crosby and whether or not Max Crosby will be traded in this offseason is, I think, the most interesting storyline. And I think with the Raiders, there's a lot happening with the Raiders at this moment where we may or may not see movement with Max Crosby himself and or the number one pick, because that certainly seems, as Adam kind of laid it out, it is that time of year where all options are on the table and everyone's listening.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what Spytek said. You know, the GM of the Raiders, he was out there meeting the media and said everything from we want Max Crosby to be a part of this team moving forward and next year, but also said when asked about Fernando Mendoza and whether or not they would listen to offers for the number one pick, said literally everything is on the table and has learned in this business that when the phone rings, you pick it up and you listen. So they would be wise to. And this is something that we talked about before, that when you got to this week, the preview of this week that we did last week was that don't be surprised if you hear this chatter start to happen, that you hear that the Raiders would start to listen to offers, and that if someone came with an offer they couldn't refuse for the number one pick because Fernando Mendoza is the only quarterback in this draft worth taking in the first round, probably really in the first 2 rounds of this draft, is what you're going to start to hear about the rest of the quarterbacks in this draft, that none of them are worth a first round or a second round pick, is that teams are going to get desperate and start to offer the Raiders a boatload of picks for this number one pick. And the Raiders would be wise to listen to every and all offers for that pick. And if it involves selling that pick and getting future firsts and resetting your franchise, and that means trading Max Crosby as well, then do it. Reset your entire franchise, because you have to weigh your options. And if Fernando Mendoza is not the guy and you're looking at next year's draft and the great quarterbacks that you believe are going to be great that are coming out, whether it's Arch Manning or Moore or whoever it is,
sure,
if you believe they're going to be the guy for the next 10 to 15 years for the Raiders, then you certainly have to listen to offers.
And that's a part of the conversation, right? Like I'm seeing many kind of point to what we saw last year in college football, and there just not being enough top-level talent at the quarterback position. So I'm guessing a lot of GMs that are approaching this week and approaching the Combine are looking that, you know, quarterback is not the need necessarily for everyone. But if you are a team that needs a quarterback, this is not the draft to get it done. The draft to get it done would be next year as you kind of prepare for what you're doing. So it's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Vegas Raiders GM John Spytek got a chance to talk to reporters earlier today. Here's what Spytek had to say as he expects Max Crosby to remain in Vegas.
I am. Max is an elite player, and I've been very upfront from the start when I got here that, you know, we're in the business of having really good players on the team, and we need a lot more of them. And, you know, it's hard to build a great team without elite players.
He also went on Spytek talking about, this is GM, Vegas Raiders GM John Spytek talking about his relationship with Max Crosby.
Max and I have a great relationship. He's in the building every day, getting healthy right now. We talk on the phone, we text. So I have a great relationship with Max. Max and I have had great conversations. I'm comfortable there, yeah.
So there you go. There's GM Spytek, John Spytek, on Max Crosby as the Raiders set to this offseason. And yeah, the relationship is good. And I think you would say you expect Max to be a Raider this upcoming offseason into the year, because you want to create an appetite for people who think he might be available. You better offer something good if you're going to get Max Crosby out of Vegas.
Well, yeah, and you want to create the illusion that he's not going anywhere. And we've talked about it. There's a bunch of teams that need this pass rusher, elite pass rusher on their team. And if you look at the edge rusher market in the draft, it's deep, but there's not that elite difference-making guy. You're not going to find the next Max Crosby in this draft. Someone might develop into that in the next few years, but you're not finding a day one franchise-changing player unless you're willing to part with a few first-round picks and maybe a player for Max Crosby, or if the Bengals decide to franchise tag Trey Hendrickson and you end up trading for Trey Hendrickson and then giving him a new deal, that's how you're going to get your elite pass rusher and, edge rusher there. So if you want to do that, that's how you're going to get him. And the market with 10 or 11 teams that need that elite difference-making pass rusher to make a Super Bowl run, there's only 2 guys out there. There's 10 teams. It's a seller's market for these guys. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 2 first-round pick and a player market for Max Crosby. And as we get deeper and deeper into this thing and closer to the draft, which is, a couple months away here, the market is going to get higher and higher for these guys, for sure.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza is the quarterback that the Vegas Raiders will be looking at with the number 1 pick. There is no question on if they go quarterback at that spot, that's the player that the Raiders will take. I feel like that's what Albert Breer pointed to in his column earlier today. That's what others have pointed to. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza as the quarterback. If he is selected by the Raiders, do the Raiders play him right away? I think that is a question. I would assume the way I would handle my team is that if I'm drafting a quarterback first overall, the kid is playing immediately, because you need to know, sink or swim, if this guy is going to turn out to be a good quarterback or not. The worst thing you can do with a young quarterback is kind of protect him early on. Don't put him out there. And then as his clock is ticking for a new contract, you don't have an answer on whether or not he's going to be able to be your long-term answer, right? So that's the worst thing you can do. So John Spytek was asked about this today, talking to the media. Do the Raiders plan on playing a young quarterback like Mendoza early on?
I think you want to have as much pressure, limit the amount of pressure you have on that guy from the start. Now, if you have a young quarterback, I'm not necessarily in favor of running him out there right away either. So, another quality player that can play the quarterback position if you have a young quarterback, and obviously a great offensive line, a run game, all the things that can limit his chances to really get killed, and a great defense too, because if he doesn't feel like he's got to go out there and score 35 points every week, I think that's helpful.
So there you go, John Spytek talking to reporters today at the Combine.
Well, I chuckle because the Raiders had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. Ashton Genty was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage almost every single play, more than any running back in the NFL. And you want to protect your quarterback. Well, how are you going to get offensive linemen if you're spending your first overall pick on a quarterback and not trading Max Crosby to get more offensive linemen? Like, I get it. You've got the first overall pick, so you've got high picks in every single round. That's fine. And you can build an offensive line. But you know how you do that faster? You trade Max Crosby to let's say the Cowboys, and you get the 20th overall pick. You trade him to the Bears. You get the 25th overall pick. You trade him to the Bucks. You get the 15th overall. Whoever it is, you get another first round pick. You get another third round pick. You get another fourth round pick. Whatever it is, you start building your offensive line. And like John Spytek said, You have to keep your quarterback upright and not get him killed. That's how you do this. Now, I agree with you. If you draft Fernando Mendoza first overall, you play him right away. The only way I sit a quarterback for a year or two is, let's say if I'm the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and I've got a coach like Mike McCarthy who's known for developing quarterbacks and had Aaron Rodgers, sit for a little bit and had Dak Prescott play, but developed him. If they had someone of that ilk, and you can say no disrespect to Geno Smith, but disrespect to Geno Smith, whenever you say that, you mean disrespect.
Yeah, of course.
Whenever you say no disrespect, you mean disrespect.
Yeah.
He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not, someone that you sit behind and you watch and you learn from. And Clint Kubiak, we don't know what if you have Andy Reid as your head coach and you're sitting behind Patrick Mahomes and you're learning from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, yeah, you sit behind and you learn. But first-time head coach and Geno Smith, no, you're not sitting behind that and learning. You're going out there and you're playing right away. And the best way to do that is you get a better offensive line and you develop your run game. And he said it, you have to have a good defense too. And I know it's counterproductive to then trade Max Crosby, but you can't have both things here. You got to have a good offensive line. Yeah. And that starts with trading Max Crosby and then building your offensive line and then rebuilding your defensive line somewhere down the line here.
I feel like that's the easiest way to get back into contention. I think holding on to Max Crosby and selecting a young quarterback, I just don't see that being the best way for the Raiders to get back into contention. I think that that's kind of what we're seeing here with this team is that you need to move on from Max Crosby. Get back the draft allocations, use those picks to work on the offensive line, and hope that Mendoza turns into a quarterback who is a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. Now, that's a totally different conversation that we can have and we should have because I just don't see it. And if you disagree with us at 310-840-4910, tell me why Fernando Mendoza is going to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. I don't see that. I think he will be a good quarterback, serviceable quarterback. He's the best quarterback of this year's draft. I don't think in any other year he would be the number one pick. No. I don't think in any other year he would be a top 10 pick. I think if this was last season or 2 years ago, when we're talking about that class where you had 5 guys go in the first round, I would put Mendoza on the same plane that I have J.J. McCarthy on, the same level. And who would be better in that situation? I'm guessing it would be Mendoza. I don't want to absolutely kill him here in this conversation, but I think as a pro prospect, I think Michael Penix, outside of the injury concerns, he's a better player. I think when you look at the entire conversation of those quarterbacks from that class, May, Nix, Caleb Williams, you have Jaden Daniels. Those players are all far better than what we have with Mendoza. He was very successful last season. I just don't see it as a top-level quarterback in the NFL.
So Albert Breer wrote on SI.com in his Monday Morning Quarterback, talked about all the different positions going on in the combine: running back, offensive tackle, edge rusher, and quarterback, of course, because that's the most important position. And unfortunately this year, one of the most down positions in the draft. And it's rare because normally that's one of the most highlighted positions. But this year, there's really only one guy, and then the bottom kind of falls out. And this is what he says. He talked to Todd McShay, draft expert. So Albert Breer talked to Todd McShay. And this is what McShay said. Assuming the Raiders take Mendoza at number 1, every other quarterback-hungry team will likely eye 2027. That's not even saying another quarterback. I didn't say will eye Ty Simpson, Carson Beck.
Right.
No. Will I?
They're just going to jump to next year if they're looking for a young quarterback.
And also said that Oregon's Dante Moore, had Dante Moore decided, remember, it was a big deal that when Dante Moore said he was going back to Oregon. So when Dante Moore said that, it was a surprise. And McShay even said that if Moore had come out during this process, the Raiders were actually looking hard at Dante Moore and had him rated right there with Mendoza. So if Moore had come out this year in this NFL draft, there would definitely be a conversation. And this combine would be a conversation between Dante Moore, or Fernando Mendoza? What are the Raiders going to do? What are the Jets going to do at 2? Like, this would definitely be a more talked about position battle between these two quarterbacks. But because Moore decided to go back to school, it's the Fernando Mendoza show, and everybody kind of assumes this is what the Raiders are going to do. But just because he's there, again, this all comes down to Fernando Mendoza is there, so the Raiders are going to take him. Now, you say, I don't know if he's going to be elite. Remember the fact that if he does go to the Raiders and they select him, Tom Brady's there. How much is Tom Brady going to be involved in the development of Fernando Mendoza?
While he's calling games throughout the season,
No,
traveling all over
I understand
as the number
that.
one broadcast crew for Fox.
But he doesn't do that in the offseason.
No, he can be impactful in the offseason.
Look, he's got to
But I'm not going to just suggest, and I know what you're pointing to, that like Tom Brady can make Fernando Mendoza and turn him into mini Brady.
He's got a
I don't know if that's
financial
the case.
investment in the team.
Of course.
If you have a financial investment in the team and you're going to invest in the most important position on the field in sports, in Fernando Mendoza, don't you think that as one of the best quarterbacks of all time, you're not going to have at least some say in this and also help develop him in some way? Like, I'm not saying week to week, like you're not going to be at every practice, because obviously you're doing your job, which is a conflict of interest. But whatever, we're not going to debate that here. That's not the time. We've done enough of that. But
This is not the place for that.
In the offseason, we know that Tom Brady is like the tape guy and sits in, like he was, for lack of a, he was a crazy person when it came to that. Like he was the student of the game.
Yeah.
And he can instill that into Fernando Mendoza. So how much is Tom Brady going to put that into Fernando Mendoza?
Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Steelers GM Omar Khan spoke to the media, and he talked about Aaron Rodgers. We'll play that for you coming up next.
The Cowboys are reportedly open to trading George Pickens. Could the superstar wideout be the missing piece for a top team like the Bills, Bears, or Broncos? Your free agent headquarters, Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
You and I both think that Aaron Rodgers is returning in this football season. We both think that Rodgers is going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're both on the record for that.
Yeah.
I don't see, for him, he can still play. And I don't think that he's like bored of playing. And physically, he can still get through a season. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I also think for them, having Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback for this year is probably the best way you can try and win this one season. I think that's the case. That this is the best way. If the Steelers are going to win this year, I think they need Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback.
Yeah, you're not drafting anybody right now that is going to give you a better chance in one season to win, and you're also not going to sign anybody. And I know that the Falcons today said that at the start of the new league year, they're going to release Kirk Cousins. So Kirk Cousins will be a free agent. So add him to the quarterback carousel, put him on the merry-go-round. He'll probably get off in Minnesota, and he'll have a quarterback competition with J.J. McCarthy.
How depressing to be a Vikings fan.
Well, he probably still has a house there, right? Like, he probably just goes home, you know? There's a Kohl's around there somewhere.
There's a Kohl's, and I think there's a Great Clips.
Yeah,
right?
he's perfect.
Isn't that what you talked
He's
about
probably got
on Hard Knocks? That he loves Great Clips because they remember his last haircut. And it's like, there's other places that do that too, right?
It's probably the same person that works there. They'll be like, oh, you're back.
Oh, Kirk, you're back.
So I think that because Mel Kiper had a mock draft today on ESPN.com, 21st overall Steelers, Ty Simpson, again, just like Field Yates did.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I wouldn't do it 21st overall. That seems very high. because you have other positions of need. I would probably get another offensive lineman because there were times where Aaron Rodgers did have to escape the pocket and kind of run around. And I think you need to build for depth, obviously, on the defensive or offensive line at any position you can. But I think that for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, with the familiarity with Mike McCarthy, you bring him in. He knows that system. He knows the wide receivers from having been there for a year. He's familiar with all the offensive linemen and everything like that. Be there for a year. That's a perfect opportunity for someone to sit and watch. If you do draft one of these quarterbacks later in the draft, they can sit there and watch and learn from Mike McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers isn't teaching anybody anything, but they can at least watch him.
Yeah.
They can be in the meeting rooms with Aaron Rodgers and Will Howard and Mason Rudolph. You have probably let one of them go to the practice squad or whatever, but you keep however many you can, and then you let them start. If Aaron Rodgers wants to play 2 years, you let him play 2 years until he doesn't want to play anymore, and then that quarterback will be ready. Mike McCarthy develops quarterbacks. He's done it twice with 2 extremely successful quarterbacks. One has a Super Bowl ring and is going to be a Hall of Famer. Dak Prescott is a very good to great quarterback. So I don't see why you wouldn't trust Mike McCarthy to do it again.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Steelers GM Omar Khan got a chance to talk to the media earlier today in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine, and he had a comment on Rodgers, and the Steelers are leaving the door open for Rodgers to return.
I've been in communication with Aaron. I think Mike has. I know Mike has also. We've had good communication, honest communication, but nothing new to report there. So happy to take any questions.
Do you have a deadline?
No deadline. All I'll tell you guys is I don't foresee this going like it did last year. So
they hope. Deadline? You got a deadline? The reason being is because we know how Aaron Rodgers milks this. He milked it last year. And the way he handled it, if you know that you're going to go back to the team, you got to be there for the offseason program. I mean, be the leader of the team. Make sure you're there in the spring for all of those events. And I get it. You specifically, Aaron Rodgers, you're a god at quarterback. We get it. We're all bowing down to Aaron Rodgers. He's so great, right? Like, that's what he wants. He wants people to bend over backwards to accommodate him because he is so great. What a great individual at the game of football. I get that. You should be there for the young teammates, for your young players, for the offensive line, for the rookies, for everyone in the organization to see that you're buying in at the maximum level. Like, give a little, and I'm not saying that he needs to teach the younger players, but I recall last season watching multiple Steelers games where as Aaron Rodgers is walking to the sidelines, he's looking at receivers who either ran the wrong route or were not on the same page with exactly what he was thinking.
Yeah.
And there's always the sideline shot of Aaron heading to the bench, chewing out someone because they didn't read his mind perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, if you get out of your cave of ayahuasca and you would commit to the team early enough, maybe those reps in the spring or the summer or whatever you're doing in the offseason, maybe that would leave those players to know a little bit more when you're in the action, when the reps are live, when you're in a season, November and December. Like, I get it. We all get it, Aaron. You're so great.
Well,
We're
it's
all
almost
very,
spring, right? He's got to come out of the hole at some time.
I know, and it reminds me of the groundhog because it's like he's taking ayahuasca. He's in a hole. He's in a cave somewhere in some hut.
Yeah.
And if he comes out and he sees the sun,
okay,
he goes back into
here's what can
his
happen.
dark hole, his retreat that he's been in the off season, where he meditates and he talks to and thinks about his real girlfriend, wife thing
Allegedly.
that allegedly may or may not exist.
Allegedly.
Be there for the team, Aaron Rodgers. Get there.
Allegedly.
Be there in the offseason. Omar Khan just made it seem like they don't expect this to drag out the way it did last year. Be there, be ready to go, and then the Steelers can have a winning season.
Okay, we all know for Groundhog Day, they assemble at Gobbler's Knob to see whether or not
that's a real place.
to see whether or not the groundhog sees his shadow. There are 2 dates where we must assemble at Rogers Knob.
Oh, okay. No,
To see-
no, thank you. I'm not assembling
To
at Rogers
see
Knob.
whether or not Rogers emerges and sees his shadow, because this is what This is what the Steelers need to know. There are 2 dates, okay? There's March 11th when free agency begins because they need to know. Malik Willis is a free agent. Kirk Cousins is going to be a free agent.
Rodgers knob.
Do they need to, if he doesn't emerge then, do they enter the Malik Willis sweepstakes? Do they enter the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes? I mean, Kirk Cousins the last 2 years, he's had 20 some odd touchdowns. He had a lot of interceptions 2 years ago. Last year he cut down the interceptions, but he wasn't horrible. Like he's serviceable. Okay, Malik Willis has the opportunity to be better. If the Dolphins cut Tua, do they get into the Tua sweepstakes? Do they trade for Kyler Murray? Whatever. They need to know the start of the new league year for that. Then there's another date that they could make their way to Rodgers Knob. And
Stop with the Rodgers knob.
And
I don't want to make my way to Rodgers knob.
And they could make a decision because on April 23rd, when it's the NFL draft in Pittsburgh, by the way, in Pittsburgh, so it's a home game for the Steelers.
Yes.
It kind of makes a difference when you draft a quarterback because if you don't have Rodgers on your roster already, you might want to take a quarterback in the first round just so you know you have the guy that you want. If Rodgers is on your roster and already signed a deal, you can wait till the 3rd round and you can get a different guy because they're going to be sitting for a year or 2 anyway. But if you don't have a guy on your roster and Mike McCarthy's not comfortable with Will Howard or Mason Rudolph, then you have to get someone. If you don't have someone signed like Malik Willis or Kirk Cousins or someone like that. So there's 2 dates where the Steelers and Mike McCarthy need to pack their bags for Rodgers Knob. It's March 11th and it's April 23rd. Those are the 2 dates that Mike McCarthy will pack his bags for Rodgers Knob.
What is the gathering at Rodgers Knob like? Because we know with Groundhog Day, a holiday that Bleck Abdalla love to celebrate.
Yes.
You get all the individuals that go to Gobbler's Knob.
Yes.
And they're in the old-timey hats.
Yes.
They've got their little rhymes ready to read. They make a big proclamation.
Yes.
They pull the little rodent out of the hole. They tell you about Groundhog Day. So when you gather together at Rodgers Knob.
Yeah.
And you celebrate this day of trying to figure out whether or not Aaron Rodgers will play or will not play this upcoming season.
Yes.
What do people wear? What is the scene look like?
Well, if you've ever seen, if you've ever been to whatever iteration of the new Dead and Company or Grateful Dead show or seen videos, it's very it's very flowy, a lot of hippies, a lot of dreads, people that would take ayahuasca, people that would be doing that, they don't eat a lot of meat. People that
they don't eat a lot of meat.
They don't eat a lot of meat. They're vegan or vegetarians. They do a lot of mushrooms, probably being seen at a fish show.
Seems like a very docile crowd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bro. Yeah, listen, man. They're just there for the vibes,
bro.
Man. Yeah.
I'm here for the vibes.
Yeah. That's the kind of crowd.
Out,
a lot of hacky sacks, a lot of circles, a lot of drums.
So it's Woodstock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Essentially, a lot of that. Not 99. No, not Woodstock 99.
No, not the angry.
Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, not the one where.
Yeah,
the pleasant one.
Yeah, the
one that people read about.
Peace, love. Yes, that one. Yeah. That's a very different from Gobbler's Knob.
And does he just appear out of the little hut, the dark room?
Maybe. We don't know what date it is, and then they just leave, and then they reappear. They emerge from a puff of smoke. And assemble at Rodgers Knob to see if he will appear and play football for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. If you want to join the show today, you can call us at 310-840-4910. You can also always watch the show live on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Bleck and Abdalla Show on YouTube. New content posted daily, and the live stream is right there as well. You can watch us each and every day. I'm just picturing all of these football fans, these Pittsburgh Steeler fans from the great state of Pennsylvania gathering around in this outdoor facility where there's a little hut on a stage, and you can see the little poofs of smoke coming out of it. Because he's inside.
Yeah, of course.
And everyone's just waiting for the day for Aaron Rodgers to open up the curtain.
Yeah.
And to peek his head out and to look and to see. And if there's enough Steelers fans there, he might be your quarterback.
Maybe. And if not, you got to come back at the draft.
Well, if not, they don't really have an option. Like, their options outside of this, if you're a Steelers fan for this upcoming season, it's not great.
It's Will Howard and Ty Simpson.
And we know the organization will not, the Steelers will never be in a situation where they can plan to draft a quarterback next season with a top pick. Like, the Steelers, I don't care with the coaching changes. The stability with the Pittsburgh Steelers is so good in the National Football League that even if they have a down year with McCarthy, they're still going to be like the 13th pick, the 14th, right? Like, they'll never be 6 or 4.
No.
And they'll never be in position next year when there will be good quarterbacks coming out of college into the NFL draft to be there to select one of those guys because they're going to be too good.
No, but there are like 10 quarterbacks coming out next year too, though. So, like, there's one this year. There's like 10 next year.
You get what I'm saying.
I understand.
The Steelers are always a little bit too good in those spots where they should be kind of planning for the future. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. What will the Dallas Cowboys do with George Pickens? There were reports earlier this week that the franchise tag will be applied. How will that go over with George Pickens? And could the Cowboys use Pickens in a trade? We'll talk about that coming up next.
How long will the Steelers wait around for a decision from Aaron Rodgers? Or could Mike McCarthy and company be in the market for a QB in free agency? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Yesterday, there was reports from the NFL Network that George Pickens would be franchise tagged. It has yet to happen, is likely to happen, and it is expected to happen. So the Cowboys are looking at George Pickens and trying to figure out the long-term solution. You know, the Dallas Cowboys, as we enter this offseason, you know, Jerry Jones runs the show. Stephen Jones is there. He was there at the Combine today speaking to the media and speaking to reporters about George Pickens. So this is what Stephen Jones had to say when he was asked about a time frame on whether or not Pickens would be with the Cowboys going forward.
I wouldn't put any time frame.
But considering
Once you have a tag, you have a tag, and, you know, we know George is going to be here. That's where we are.
He also went on to say that they love George Pickens.
You know, we want Pickens here. I think the world of him. Want him here, love him, and I think he wants to be here. So all that's a plus.
So there you go. There's Stephen Jones speaking to the media in Indianapolis as the NFL Combine's taking place down there, and the football world has headed to Indy. And the Cowboys have George Pickens. We talked about George Pickens yesterday. The franchise tag would then put George Pickens in a spot to stay with the Cowboys, expected to then put together a long-term deal to keep the wide receiver. But then you also kind of look at the options that the Cowboys have on the table. They have to improve their defense in this offseason. And could George Pickens be used in a possible trade with the Raiders for Max Crosby? That is something that has been put out there over the last couple of weeks. So the long-term solution of what the Cowboys will do with George Pickens, I think, is an interesting storyline to follow.
I think the Cowboys hopefully learned from last year in what they did. And what they're trying to find last year is an edge rusher. And they let one of the best edge rushers and one of the best guys at getting to the quarterback walk out of their building, and they traded him away in Micah Parsons. And now they are trying to put together something or draft the next Micah Parsons, whatever it is. Don't do that with George Pickens. Figure it out. I know he was a problem to deal with in the locker room or with ownership or with coaches. Figure something out. Pay him, franchise him. If he doesn't want to play on the franchise tag, work out a long-term deal. Don't let good players leave just because you can't figure something out and because Jerry Jones wants to draw a line in the sand. This is how good teams go south. You have a window here. You have an offense that played really well, even when CeeDee Lamb wasn't producing the way we're expecting CeeDee Lamb to usually produce, and George Pickens was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. If both guys are healthy, that's a great 1-2 punch with those wide receivers. If Dak Prescott can have the year that he had last year, and especially the year that he had 3 years ago when he was playing at an MVP level, and then he had the injured year, but last year he played great. Draft someone. You don't have a horrible pick. You have the 20th overall pick. Draft an edge rusher. Build your defensive line. I know it's not or go out and, I mean, look, if you have to trade for someone, if the Bengals franchise Trey Hendrickson, make that move. It's probably not going to cost you as much. You just have to work out a contract. And if you're willing to pay the money for the Max Crosby contract, pay the money for the Trey Hendrickson contract, because then you're not losing George Pickens and you get to have Trey Hendrickson. Don't blow up a good offense for the sake of your defense.
So on the flip side, will George Pickens be happy playing on the franchise tag for a season? The franchise tag will cost about $28 million for this upcoming season. Do you think that he will have a problem with that and he will just only want an extended contract? Like, do you see George Pickens buying in and being okay with being franchise tagged for the season? I don't necessarily see that. He seems like he's a pretty difficult player.
Any player shouldn't want to play on a 1-year deal. It's a safety, it's a security, it's a health issue.
28 mil though.
I understand that. And I get it.
I mean, he's getting the average of the 5 highest paid players
I understand.
in football
people
at the position.
People could live off of $28 million for the rest of their lives, but this is a wide receiver.
In today's economy, what are you talking about,
I mean,
Abdalla?
listen, that's like two cartons of eggs.
How much does a banana cost?
$10. I think that a player of his caliber wants a long-term deal for his security. Right? You don't want to go off of a 1-year deal and then they can franchise him next year, and because you can keep doing it. You can keep rolling this ball down the hill. So I think he would want that. I don't know if his mindset is I'm going to hold out and not play on the franchise tag until you either trade me or whatever to work out a long-term deal. The hope is that you saw what happened with Micah Parsons. You saw how this went. Don't make the same mistake. He's a good wide receiver. He plays well with Dak Prescott. You saw what happens when CeeDee Lamb gets injured. He picked up all the slack. They played well together. Why break this up just for the sake of the defense so you can sign or so you can trade for Max Crosby, which you don't even know is available? As of right now, he's still a Raider. You don't know this. Operate under. All
right. Okay.
But I'm saying operate under the idea.
What you're saying.
Operate under the idea that Max Crosby isn't available.
I don't buy it. But
okay.
I understand what you're pointing to. Is that's what publicly the Raiders are saying right now.
And if you're Jerry Jones, operate under the idea that he's not available. Go to George Pickens and say, we're going to franchise you and we want to work out a long-term deal. And then also call the Raiders and be like, are you interested? And if they are, then be like, okay, well, maybe we could work something out.
The last time Dallas reached a long-term deal with a player that they franchise tagged, you have to go back to 2015, wide receiver Des Bryant. So to accomplish that, that's not something the Cowboys have necessarily used. Is they have franchise tag players, but then to get that player to extend to a long-term deal after applying the franchise tag, it hasn't worked out for the Cowboys since 2015. Mm-hmm. So it's just something to keep our eyes on. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. I would also ask one other thing with this Cowboys Pickens situation. Is loading up that much on the offense, is that necessarily the best way to build your team? We know what the Dallas Cowboys have to do in this offseason. They have to add on the defense. Can they counterbalance all of this spending, all of these weapons for Dak, 2 wide receivers? They just spent on Williams, a running back. So they've got a lot of weapons offensively. Can they improve enough defensively to balance out the team to make a playoff run in this upcoming season?
I think they have to, because with the lack of talent on your defense, you're not going to build it up in 1 year. You put up 35, 40 a game if you expect to win the playoffs and win this year. How else are you going to win games? Yeah. You're going to rebuild your entire defense in one draft and one free agency and one offseason? You're not going to do that. So you have to do this. I mean, look at the great teams. I know that, and I understand that a defensive team just won the Super Bowl, and a team that faced them didn't really have the best weapons at wide receiver. But for the most part, the good teams that we see have 2 great weapons, right? Like we talk about the Bengals. We talk about the teams have 2 good weapons.
Yes.
Why not have 2 good weapons?
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Have you ever seen someone that or talked to someone that's like, I've got the ultimate travel hack for you, and then they go on to tell you about some hack as far as traveling, and you're like, oh yeah, that's something I do all the time.
Yeah,
like of course you you get to the TSA line at the airport, you take your stuff out and you put it into your bag, so then you get to the little conveyor belt and everything goes in, and then you don't have to stall the line by saying, oh, I've got something in my pocket. Oh, I got to take my watch. Right. A little travel hack.
Yeah.
If someone told you that, you'd be like, yeah, duh.
Yeah, that's
not
that's
travel.
what you're supposed to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
we get it. Have you seen this story about this woman on TikTok who claims to have a hotel coffee maker hack? Have you seen this going around?
People use that?
Well, she's not using it the way she's supposed to use it. So there's a story out there that people are questioning whether or not this influencer is facing a $1 million lawsuit after she's been posting videos claiming that her hotel hack is cleaning her underwear in the hotel coffee maker. So she has all of these videos on TikTok and hundreds, thousands of views.
Disgusting.
Millions of views. She's cleaning her underwear in the coffee maker in the hotel room. Well, then after this got some traction because it went viral that this is a, quote, hotel hack, there is now a new story out there where people, and it's been out there that she's being sued and she has to replace all the coffee makers. I can't find any credible evidence lawsuit taking place, but you are sick in the head. If you are cleaning your underwear, what is wrong with you?
Okay, first of all, jail. Hard time. Like hard time. Second of all, who is using those coffee makers?
Well, I don't think anyone's actually using it to make coffee, but
also, here's a travel hack. Bring enough underwear for the trip.
Okay, well,
like I'm going on a trip.
Ooh,
tomorrow.
Look at you.
I'm going for a handful of days.
Globetrotter Abdalla.
Yeah, Florida. Yeah, Globetrotter. I'm bringing enough pairs of underwear for the amount of days that I'm going. Like, I'm not going to do laundry. I'm going to be gone.
What if you go for you go somewhere for like 16, 17, 18 days?
I will find a place to do laundry.
So instead of you don't have the travel hack of using the coffee maker in the hotel room.
No.
You will go find a place to.
I'll do laundry.
Okay. All right.
Like I'll do a day of laundry or hotels have laundry services. Like a lot of hotels have laundry services.
They do, especially the 5-star hotels that the Abdallas are staying at.
Or any three or four.
Freshly press your clothing.
Or since I'm going to Florida, my mom's place.
Oh no, your mom! You're gonna make your mom do your laundry?
Well, no. I mean, I'm bringing enough underwear for the trip, so my mom will not have to do laundry.
This is not a travel hack, but I have seen someone that I know personally who's been on a 2-week vacation, only bring enough underwear for like 1 week, and then
turn them inside out.
Try to clean them in the sink.
Oh, yeah.
Bathroom.
Get some Tide.
No,
get some Tide.
That's not right.
Bring them out. Get some Tide.
You can't clean them in the sink.
Bring them out and hang.
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
So this woman, this TikTok woman with her hack, if you got good travel hacks, you can call Bleck and Abdalla at 310-840-4910. She's not getting sued yet. That's not credible.
Jail.
What is credible, though, is she has posted these videos claiming that putting her underwear in the coffee maker to clean them is a travel hack. Her name, by the way, Tara Woodcocks.
Okay.
That's her real name. That's her name.
Is she going to be at Rogers Knob?
No.
For the
Curtis Poindexter's here?
For the unveiling?
No way. With the boink? He gave us that. It's Bleck and Abdalla. We're talking football with you coming up next here on Westwood One.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, noon to 3 Eastern each and every weekday right here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM Channel 375, and all of our great radio affiliates across the country. It's Bleck and Abdalla. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla, broadcasting live from Chicago today. If you want to give us a call, you can call us at 310-840-4910. A lot of action taking place in Indianapolis this week for the NFL Scouting Combine as we get set for the NFL Draft. GMs are speaking, and there's a lot of news going on in the NFL right now.
Yeah, the underwear Olympics are off today, but the GMs, coaches, everyone's speaking. Everybody's happy today. Everything's on the table and everybody's happy. That's the mood in Indianapolis because Max Crosby is going to be a Raider for life. A.J. Brown's going to be an Eagle for life. And everything's on the table with the number 1 pick. Everything's on the table with Tua Tagovailoa. Everything's on the table with Daniel Jones. Everything's on the table. But we do know this. Kirk Cousins is not going to be a Falcon when we start March.
We do have that information.
That's
You're right.
out there. That's out there.
That was earlier today. The GM for the Atlanta Falcons, Ian Cunningham, the new GM, he told 92.9 The Game in Atlanta that the team plans to release Kirk Cousins on the first day of the league year, which would be Wednesday, March 11th. He also explained that would be the right thing to do. They're not planning on bringing Cousins back, so they will release Kirk Cousins at the start of the new league year, which tosses Kirk Cousins into the mix of possible solutions at quarterback for teams that are looking for a quarterback. Again, as we go through this offseason, all of the options are not great options. There is no option that you go with that quarterback who is being released or a guy that is being rumored to be traded. I think there's one name with high-level potential to improve for the future. That name is Kyler Murray. Everyone else has major flaws. Everyone else is a has-been or a player that is hurt or someone that can't get it done or an old guy. There's some old guys floating around, too. You got Joe Flacco. You got, is Grandpa Rivers planning on playing again
Rivers
this year?
Is done.
He's
Rivers
done?
is done.
Sure?
Yeah. He was going to be a coach, I thought.
Did you see that his son committed to North Carolina State, NC State? His son, Gunnar Phillips, is it Rivers? Gunnar Rivers is his name?
Well, he's a literal grandfather, isn't he?
That's a hell of a quarterback name.
Yeah, it is. Well, he knew. He probably knew.
Is that really his name?
He probably named all of his boys
Gunnar Rivers.
Quarterback names. Like great quarterback names. Gunnar, Slinger.
Like without even seeing the kid play. That's a first-round grade.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Gunnar Rivers.
First, at least. Yeah.
And then you add in the nepotism that his father's a Hall of Fame level quarterback.
I don't even need to watch minimum 4-star.
I'm going to say Gunnar Rivers. I like that better than Arch Manning.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a team looking for a quarterback.
I'm already tanking.
And in 5 years,
already tanking.
Gunnar Rivers.
Start.
That sounds great.
Dolphins need to start now.
So like I was saying, there are the older quarterbacks who have been around the league who we don't really know their status at this moment. Okay, we'll put Grandpa Rivers to the side. But Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, and now you add Kirk Cousins to the mix as possible solutions for teams. One team that seems to know what they're doing at quarterback for this upcoming offseason, and I don't know if we necessarily agree with their plan, it's the Indianapolis Colts. Are they making the right decision in trying to sign Daniel Jones to a long-term, multi-year contract? That was reported earlier today from Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network that Daniel Jones and the Colts have begun discussions on a multi-year contract extension. I think for the Colts, for most of last year, it was the right move. I think they could also upgrade that position, but they are also one of those teams that's teetering between trying to win now at all costs, and then also planning for the future. Signing Daniel Jones to a long-term contract in this offseason could have a possible fallout when you realize the player he really is not the guy that you saw for the first 8 weeks of last season and the quarterback that we really saw with the New York Giants for the last couple of years.
Yeah, but you don't have a choice. You have to. You backed yourself into a corner because what you did in the first 8 weeks of the season led you to give up 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. Back in November, when the trade deadline came around and they were like, we need to bolster this defense somehow. And on November 4th, they traded with the Jets and gave up 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. That's when you invested in Daniel Jones. That's when you went all in on Daniel Jones. And yeah, obviously you went all in on Sauce Gardner and your defense too. But now you don't have a first-round pick this year and you don't have a first-round pick next year. So if you're really bad this year, you can't even pick a quarterback in 2027 because you don't have a first-round pick. So you have to give Daniel Jones an extension because you don't have another choice. What are you going to do? You just mentioned all of the old dudes hanging around. What are you going to do? Make another trade for Kyler Murray? Like, I guess if it only costs you what we've been kind of looking at from the people that are making prognostications about what these are going to cost, and if it's only a 4th-round pick, then sure, you can make that move if you want to. But again, you invested in Daniel Jones the minute you traded for Sauce Gardner and gave up 2 first-round picks. So unless the answer is Kirk Cousins, unless the answer is Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think either of those are the answer.
Yeah.
You told the world that Daniel Jones is your quarterback when you made that trade. Because you're going to give him, I don't know what that long-term deal is going to look like. I don't think he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Everybody kind of knows what Daniel Jones is. Yeah, he looked great the first 8 weeks or so of the season before he got hurt. But I think we kind of know what Daniel Jones is, and it's not going to set any records here, and he's not going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Last season, 3,100 yards thrown, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He was sacked 22 times last season. He had a quarterback rating of 100.2. But Abdalla's right. He didn't play in every game. As the season went on, it felt like he was less impactful. He started off the season great. And you saw the way that he was able to compete early on, and then he wasn't able to finish out the season. Last game he played, he got hurt against Jacksonville on December the 7th. He only threw 7 passes in that game. He threw an interception. But essentially, I felt early in the season last year that the Colts were a team that was good when the weather was still warm. And I feel like what happens is we get these teams each football season where people get a little giggly about in college football and the NFL. And it happened a couple of years ago, and college football fans know what I'm talking about. A couple of years ago, remember Deion Sanders' first season at Colorado? In September, could they win the national title? Is this the best team in college football? The weather was still warm, right? Mm-hmm. And it was still felt like summer in most of the country, right? And Deion, because they won a couple of games early against nobodies, people thought that the Colorado Buffaloes were going to be a championship contending team in college football. And it feels like each year there's a team that pops early in September, maybe early October, when the weather is still nice, and people think that they're for real. And to me, the Colts last season had those vibes. We would put together our power rankings each week on our old show. And each week throughout the football season, I would say, yeah, the Colts are 7-0, but I don't even have them in my top 5. Yeah, they've got this record, but they don't even make my top 5. And that was a consistent theme that I had last year because I knew at some point it was going to run out. And the Colts weren't really for real. They had a nice start to the season, but they weren't good enough to compete for a playoff spot and to get to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I think that is why I'm doubting that the Colts are going to be able to put together that type of effort at the start of next season to be even what we saw last year, which wasn't good enough to get to the playoffs. And that's why I would question Daniel Jones long-term with the Colts. And I get the way that you laid it out. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. If you want to join us, 310-840-4910. It's the corner that the Colts have backed themselves into. I get that. But I also don't think they're going to be any good this year.
I think that based on their division.
You think they're going to be better than the teams in their division?
No. That's not what I was going to say. I said that based on their division, I think that they can compete and they can try to win that division because I think Jacksonville is still going to be decent. I think that Houston, they're going to have a great defense, but I don't trust C.J. Stroud. And I think the Colts they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to be great. I don't think they're going to run away with the division or anything. I think you're right. They came back down to earth. They won a bunch of games, and then we saw them go to overtime against the Chiefs. They lost to the Texans, and then in that next game, Week 14, that's when Daniel Jones got hurt, and that's when the bottom fell out. But they were losing games before he got hurt. They lost those 2 games, and then he got hurt. But before that, they were playing really well. But the division is getting better.
Yeah.
So the Jaguars, to me, are going to be. I also think the Titans are going to be better. I'm the one that thinks the Titans could go worst to first.
I know that's why I kind of jumped on you when you said that you thought that when you look at the division,
No.
you've also established yourself as Tennessee Titans guy here on the show.
Yeah. And I think that they could still go worst to first. So I think the division is going to be way more competitive this year just because Jacksonville could make the playoffs. Tennessee's going to be good. The Colts aren't going to be okay. And I don't know what to make of the Texans. I don't know what to make of CJ Stroud. The defense is going to be great. I know that. But I don't know what CJ Stroud's going to do. If he continues to decline, the Texans are going to have to make a very drastic decision about CJ Stroud and his contract.
Well, and so when we look at that division, the AFC South, how do you stack the quarterbacks? I think hands down, number one is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
You and I have talked about CJ Stroud not being very good, struggling at the end of last season. I still think you have to put him number 2 right now. And I would put Daniel Jones 3, Cam Ward 4, just based on the production we've seen. Expectations for the future, I would put Cam Ward 2. And then CJ Stroud 3, Daniel Jones last.
If I had to start, if I had to do the thing where I'm starting a team today and I had to take the quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence 1, Cam Ward 2.
I agree with that.
Just because Cam Ward has more upside than either of the other two guys.
So finish out the foursome. Would you hope that you could fix CJ Stroud into the future or maintain whatever level of play that Daniel Jones had in the first 7-8 weeks of the season and think that you could get away with that moving forward? I would kind of bank on the hope that CJ Stroud would eventually get back to what we saw in his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm thinking.
Well, the thing about Daniel Jones, he was in the same room and breathing the same air as Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell for a while. And that usually fixes quarterbacks. It fixed Sam Darnold. That's what it did. He was with Shanahan for a while. He went to Minnesota. They let him go, and it fixed him. And remember, Minnesota's GM, former GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa, was fired because Sam Darnold went out of the building, and Daniel Jones got out of the building. That was part of it. It wasn't just Sam Darnold. It was also Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
That was part of it.
Yep.
It wasn't just because, Sam Darnold's now a Seahawk and he's going to the Super Bowl. It is also because people within the building believe that Daniel Jones could have been a viable quarterback, and they let him walk as well. So people believe that Daniel Jones can be a good, viable option. I don't know. CJ Stroud has just had this decline, but his offensive line has also been very bad.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue with CJ Stroud is he just gives the football up.
Yeah.
You go back to the playoff game, and every time he got hit against the Patriots, the ball was out of his hand.
I know.
You can't have ball security like that and be a successful quarterback in the National Football League.
I know.
You just can't.
I don't know. I'll probably rely on the talent that I've seen from CJ Stroud and go with CJ first over Daniel Jones. But it's close. It's really close. Because I've seen Daniel Jones put up decent numbers last year before he got hurt. And then he got hurt. That's the thing. What would he have been like the rest of the season? What would he have been able to do the rest of the season?
Did you see the quote today from Texans GM Nick Caserio?
Yeah.
He called the trade speculation about CJ Stroud, quote, moronic. And then he insisted that the team is, quote, not trading CJ Stroud.
I'm glad you read it that way because that's not how I glanced at it, and I read it as CJ's not a moron. Why would the GM say that? He's saying he's not a moron.
Hey,
that's a good thing.
Don't worry, everyone. He's not a moron.
That's high praise. What are you talking about? That's how I read it. I'm glad you read it properly. Good for you. Congrats on the phonics.
Usually that's something I struggle with, but yes, I caught that one. Yeah, it would. Could you imagine if there was a GM that was like, "Hey,
he's not a moron.
He's not
Trust
a moron.
me, he's not a moron." No, he's right though. You're not going to trade him. The problem is though with CJ Stroud is you got to have a serious conversation about whether or not he's getting a contract coming up next. If he performs the way he did this year or worse, you have to have a serious conversation about his next contract.
I agree with that, and that's what makes it really difficult because the pedigree and where he was drafted and what we saw in his rookie season would lead you to believe that the Texans have their guy for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so those players, just based on what we've seen every other quarterback before him get, usually guys in that situation end up signing, if not the richest contract in NFL history to date, one of the richest contracts in NFL history at the time of said signing.
Yeah.
So if you're the Texans, knowing that you're going to give that quarterback that type of money, you almost immediately will submarine your franchise if he does sign a deal like that. And he turns out to be the guy that we've been making fun of for the last 2 months here on the show, based on the play that we saw last year. Like, CJ Stroud needs to improve. And I'm glad that the GM's out front of it, saying and letting everyone know he's not a moron.
Yeah, I mean, next year.
He didn't say that. It's the way Abdalla thought the quote was read.
Look, next year is the 5th-year option on the rookie deal.
Yeah.
So we know they're going to pick that up. Like, that's a no-brainer. But after that, after the rookie deal.
Well, I'm guessing they want to get a deal done this offseason. With a young quarterback, you never want to wait to the offseason where the deal is up.
I don't know, man. That's tricky.
No, I know it's tricky.
That's tricky.
I agree. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. It is now time for the Defensive Player of the Week, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Abdalla, are you going to stick with football? Maybe a little basketball last night? Where are you going for the Defensive Player of the Week?
Let's see. Victor Wembanyama.
I mean, he was awesome
good.
last night.
Yeah, he
Stephon
was good.
Castle also shut down Cade Cunningham.
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned that because we had a conversation about Cade Cunningham yesterday and which direction the Pistons could go in the second half of the NBA season. Well, the unofficial second half of the NBA season. Let's go with Castle, just because, maybe the MVP votes were a little premature.
Lock it in. He is your Defensive Player of the Week, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. At some point today, I do want to talk to you about the game last night. San Antonio in the second half just ran away with that game. And in the fourth quarter, their defense was suffocating on the Pistons. And if the Pistons can't shoot from three in the playoffs, they're going to be dead on arrival. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. How about this? Which NFL team is going to spend big time this offseason? Abdalla and I will power rank those teams coming up next.
How long will the Steelers wait around for a decision from Aaron Rodgers? Or could Mike McCarthy and company be in the market for a QB in free agency? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, Bleck and Abdalla broadcasting live from Chicago each day, hanging out with you at 310-840-4910, talking football. Raj Sharon is producing today's show live from Denver, Colorado, and it's now time for some power rankings with Raj. What's up, Raj?
Hello, fellas. It's time for Power Rankings. These aren't your normal boring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Power Rankings. We try to get a little more creative around here. Today's theme, free agency, specifically teams. Last week we did actual free agents. This week we're going to look at the teams. You boys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The first Power Ranking category, be fiscally responsible. All right, Abdalla, I know this is something you try to exhibit in your personal life. Be fiscally responsible. Who do you put in that category?
He's too busy buying shoes, sneakers.
I was just about that. That was going to be my joke as soon as he was going to be like, yeah, I was like, how many Jordans did you buy last year?
Yeah, sure.
Listen, I still got some All-Star ones in the StockX cart that I've been debating for over 2 weeks. Let's see. Fiscally responsible. I would say obviously they don't have a lot of cap space, but they would create a lot of cap space if they cut Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, man.
So if they did that, they need to be fiscally responsible. It is the Miami Dolphins. Be fiscally responsible and cut Tua, save that money, and spend it next year. That is how you become fiscally responsible. That is really the only team that I can think of right now to be fiscally responsible, because my philosophy is the cap's going to go up over $300 million for the first time this year. If you have cap space, spend it. There's no point in you obviously have to have some wiggle room for injuries and stuff like that. But if you're like the Titans, if you have $103 million, if you're the Raiders, you have $91 million. The Chargers have $80 million.
Yeah.
Spend it. Spend this money. Turn your franchise around. The Titans can go worst to first. The Jets can compete. The Commanders have $74 million. Spend your money. I know that's a different category. We'll get to it. But
why don't you just list off every team in the league?
Spend your money. So one team needs to be fiscally responsible right now, and it's the Dolphins. That's it.
I'm glad Raj laughed at that. I mean, jeez. All right.
That's what I was going to say. All right, Abdalla, let's just do all 32 in the categories.
Yeah,
all right, what do you got, Bleck?
Raj, I was gonna give you a more elaborate answer, but because the way Abdalla went with that, I'm gonna give you one team, Kansas City. I think Kansas City will spend wisely. They don't have a lot of space, some restructuring. They've created cap space. I think the Chiefs will be responsible. That's my answer.
All right, next power ranking category.
I mean, I was going to give you Miami. I was going to give you Kansas City. I was going to give you, I hope the Cowboys.
Do it.
The Seahawks have a lot of cap space, but I think they're going to give deals to their own guys. So I think there's a lot of teams we could look at. Yes.
All right, the next category, Abdalla, you're going to love this, but we'll start with Bleck. Spend, baby, spend.
Show it and throw it.
It's the Tennessee Titans. They have the most cap space in this offseason. They've got a new head coach. They've got a young quarterback. If you have the young quarterback and you're ready to roll, spend the money. I'm looking at Tennessee. They're number one in my power rankings for spend, baby, spend.
I'm going to go with the Titans as well, but since you already took them, I'm going to throw the Chargers in that category as my number one team. You have $82 million in cap space. Big, beefy boys. Get me some offensive linemen. I mean, if you've got Herbert taking all these sacks again and you've got 30 different offensive line combinations, that's ridiculous. Go spend on some offensive linemen. Trade for some offensive linemen if you can. Draft some whatever you need to do to fix that offensive lineman. And don't tell me it can't be done. Chris and I are sitting here in Chicago where they changed 4 out of 5 offensive linemen through trades, through signings, through the draft. They went through 3 left tackles throughout the season. Don't tell me it can't be done. They went from one of the worst offensive lines to one of the best offensive lines in one single season. It can be done. Don't BS me. Show it and throw it. The Chargers.
All right, next category. We're going out for Chipotle, but no guac.
Okay.
Abdalla?
First of all, who does that? That's ridiculous. If you're going to Chipotle, you're getting guac. Like, why?
You go to
like,
Chipotle
why
now,
even
it's like
going for Chipotle and adding the guac?
But that's my point.
That's my
point.
We're going for Chipotle, but no guac.
My intention when I go to Chipotle is to get the guac. So like that's factored into the cost of the Chipotle. Just
so you're going to go spending,
yeah.
but with a little bit of a limit here.
Okay, again, Chris and I are sitting here in Chicago. The Bears can create if they want to. Again, this is all based on ownership. If you want to create cap space for your players through restructuring deals, we saw the Chiefs do this with Mahomes. They restructured his deal and gave him a signing bonus, creating about $45 million in cap space. How did they do this? Like I said, signing bonus. That means your owner has to cut a check that day for whatever the signing bonus is. Cash money on the spot.
Liquid cash.
That would mean the Bears have to do this. I think they will with a certain amount of guys, but I don't know if it'll be enough to go get Max Crosby. I think it'll be enough to do some tweaking here and there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to go out and get the big fish that Bears fans want to put them over to get to if they get Max Crosby, they're going to get in the NFC Championship game and go to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to try to keep some of their guys, Kevin Byard, those kind of guys, but not enough to go out and free up enough space for a $100 million guy like Max Crosby.
You know, Raj, I'm going to give you the Philadelphia Eagles. About 18 mil in cap space. The Eagles are always a very active team in the offseason. And I think that the category is spend, but careful, no extra guac, no guac when you're going to Chipotle. Then I think the Eagles will spend, but they will be careful. There may be a restructuring, maybe an interesting trade that takes place. We don't know with A.J. Brown what his situation is going to be. So I'm going to give you the Philadelphia Eagles.
You still
I
get
would
a
also
tasty
say
burrito. You can get some pico on that thing, some rice. You just, no guac, no queso, no extras.
Yeah, I mean, I would say also if you're, this is the way I handle Chipotle. The way I order it is if you get a side salsa with your tacos or burrito and then order the chips and guac, you can kind of get salsa and guac without spending for the salsa and the guac extra. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
I see.
I
like what you're thinking.
Ask for the salsa on the side for the tacos or the burrito.
That's fair.
And then you dip your chips in both the guac and the salsa.
That's fair.
Now you're spending extra.
Kurt Signetti would approve of your thinking
like
there. I think Sig would
I also
be in
have
on
eating
that
problems, I guess, because I usually order 2 meals at Chipotle. So
Okay. Wow.
that's on me.
Let's talk about showing
right,
it.
next
Tacos in a
power
burrito.
ranking.
What's wrong?
Wow.
Next power ranking category: take out a loan if you have to.
Oh,
Abdalla?
jeez.
Ooh, take out a loan if you have to. There's a window, and if the 49ers, it is closing soon because your players are getting aged and hurted. Aged and hurted.
What?
Aged and hurted. Well, because hurt didn't rhyme with aged. So I had to create a word there.
Raj, what are we doing here?
They got $41 million in cap space now. You got to make it work somehow, 49ers. And if that means taking out a second mortgage on the substation, you got to make it work. Do whatever you can. Okay, Roger, like that one. Do whatever you can. So make it work. And I know the Patriots spent a lot last year, but it was just not enough, obviously. So they have $42 million in cap space. Make it work. The Rams also seem to make it work every year, too. They got $40 million in cap space. So find ways to create it. I feel like when we say take out a loan, that means restructure deals and create that cap space like the Chiefs did. Is that considered like taking out that second mortgage? Is that what we call it? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. You got to create liquid cash, Chris.
Yeah, okay. You got to pay it back. My answer to you, Raj, would be this. Super Bowl windows only last for so long, and then before you know it, you're looking at a wasted opportunity. Detroit, the Lions. You don't have any cap space. You're over the cap right now. You need to find a way to improve your ball club so then you continue with this championship window. So if you're going to take out a loan to then spend on players or do whatever you're going to do here in the offseason, I'm looking at Detroit as my number one team in the power rankings for taking out a loan in this offseason.
All right, and finally, guys, the final power ranking category of free agency, teams edition. Don't even think of reaching for that wallet. If you got to install an app that puts permissions on yourself and limits yourself, whatever you got to do to exhibit self-control, don't even think of reaching for that wallet. Bleck?
Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboys, walk on down. And you know that they're not going to listen to you. But we can set the parameters up for the Cowboys. Don't spend any more.
You're
and
ridiculous.
They will. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Sign George Pickens. What do you mean? Sign George Pickens. What's wrong with you?
They're so far over the cap.
Who cares?
A Cowboy fan may care. That's who will care on this situation. It's
money.
Dallas.
Oil money. Who cares?
Hold it a little.
No.
Don't spend it all. You can't do it.
As of this moment, the Dallas Cowboys sit at an NFL worst over $52 million over the salary cap.
Yep.
What's the salary cap anyway? It's the Cleveland Browns. Don't sign Malik Willis and add another quarterback to your very crowded quarterback room. You've got somewhat of an out of the Deshaun Watson contract next year, so just sit this one out.
Sit tight.
Just sit this one out.
Don't
guys.
go to the mall. Don't shop.
Yeah, just sit this one out. You don't need anything else. You're good. You're just be bad. You've got Myles Garrett. Let him set the sack record again if he wants to. Now he wants the all-time record for most sacks, so that's fine. Let him do that.
That will do it for power rankings, although I come away from this more than anything curious of what's in Abdalla's shopping cart right now that he hasn't hit, buy on.
Oh, for the StockX, it was the Jordan 1s from All-Star Weekend. They're the
Why don't you tell
the cool
your
gray.
partner there how much those are sitting? How much?
The cool gray. Oh, they're actually below retail. These are the ones that.
How much are they?
They're only like 120. They're not bad.
Only 120.
Yeah, well, they retail at 185. I mean, I'm getting a deal here. Are you kidding me? They're practically giving them away.
That is a
Thank
man
you, Raj.
who does not scave on the guac when he goes to Chipotle, Mr. Adam Abdalla.
Yeah, no, he's extra guac. That's his nickname.
Extra guac.
Extra guac. That's
there's an
Abdalla's
extra charge
nickname
for
is
that.
extra guac.
Throw it on there.
Yeah.
What's the salary cap?
I know. Salary cap isn't real. I know.
It's not. It's a myth.
Bleck Abdalla Power Rankings here on Bleck Abdalla is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. All right, you know that there are teams around sports that hate it when other fan bases show up to their arena, their football stadium, basketball court, whatever the case is. You know, we see this where there are teams that don't sell out, so then the visitor fan base shows up and they buy a lot of tickets. There's been a movement as of late for teams who try and prohibit those who don't live in a specific area code from purchasing tickets to venues. We have the latest story in this situation where people in Wisconsin are afraid of those who are south of the border. We will tell you about that story coming up next.
Tyreek Hill has been added to the free agent pool. If the future Hall of Famer is recovered from his injury, could his game-changing speed return to Kansas City? Or will the Cheetah roam in a new domain? Talking all things NFL free agency. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
The Green Bay Packers have issued another warning to their season ticket holders. This is the warning because the Green Bay Packers are worried about those who sell their season tickets repeatedly on the secondary market. So they sent a warning out to the season ticket holders yesterday, letting fans know that if you continue to sell your season tickets on the secondary market or to other places, that the intent of having season tickets for the Green Bay Packers is to, quote, attend the games and to, quote, contribute to the atmosphere. Simply put, Packers season ticket holders who purchase their tickets with the sole intent on reselling them should not be Packers season ticket holders. That's on the official Green Bay Packers website.
Okay.
Their head VP of business development released a statement yesterday. Mm-hmm. The Green Bay Packers are worried about those from the South, I'm guessing, as Bleck Abdalla broadcasts live from the great city of Chicago, traveling up north to Lambeau Field during the season, that the Green Bay Packers are warning their season ticket holders, people who purchase season tickets, that they are not to sell them on the secondary market, or else, if they catch you, they will remove you from being a season ticket holder. Is this fair? Is this foul?
First of all, soft team. This is also the team that pushed to ban the tush push. Soft team.
Last year.
Not surprised from this soft team. Soft like cheese. Not like hard cheese.
Like brie?
Yeah, like a brie.
Yeah.
Or what's that Italian cheese you get at Italian restaurants? You know,
mozzarella?
No, not the mozzarella.
Burrata?
Yeah, burrata.
Burrata.
Yeah, burrata. Soft like burrata.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Listen, it's not even the Bears. Listen, the Bears started the cheese grater thing because Packers fans, they wear that dumb foam, and I'm not biased. They wear that dumb foam cheese thing on their head.
They think it's fashionable.
And then Bears fans came up and they wore cheese graters on their heads. And then Caleb Williams wore one after they beat the Packers. And then guess what? Other fan bases and other teams started wearing cheese graters whenever they were beating the Packers. And how about this, Packers? You did this to yourself, okay?
Yeah.
Because what if this happens? All right? What if you tell me, as a season ticket holder,
yes,
that I can't sell season tickets? What if I'm also because I don't know if people around this great nation know this, the Packers are publicly owned. If you buy a little piece of paper,
A little certificate. We say that with the most respect possible. A little cute certificate.
A little
that they
cute
get.
certificate,
Yeah.
a little piece
printout
of
that says
paper.
that they're an owner, which they're really not, but it says that they are, so they're really proud of it.
I don't even know if it's on cardstock, like good resume paper, that says you're an owner. As a partial owner of the team, I can do whatever the hell I want to with my tickets because I'm part owner of the team. I come out.
Their business development guy is saying, no, that's not the case.
You're my employee.
No, he's telling you that if you sell your tickets, you're a season ticket holder, and you sell your tickets, that they will revoke your season tickets.
I come out and I help shovel the seats before games. How about that?
Well, hey, this is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen teams go on playoff runs, and a part of the playoff run is when they're selling playoff tickets, they try and limit the area codes and the zip codes that can purchase said playoff tickets. We've seen this in the NHL. We've seen this in the NBA before. We've seen it in football when teams are traveling and you got a big fan base that's looking to go and follow a team. Like, for example, we saw 2 years ago when Detroit was in the playoffs, the Lions were in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The Lions have never gotten to an NFC championship game. Lions fans are going to travel to go to San Francisco to see if their team can go to the Super Bowl. And we've seen this with Kansas City in the past where they try and limit Buffalo fans being able to purchase tickets to get to the AFC Championship game. I think all of it across all of sports. And yes, you and I are sitting here in Chicago. And yes, we are Bears fans. So there is an obvious sarcastic bias to this conversation because Green Bay sucks.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, let's just get it out there. For those listening in the great state of Wisconsin, we understand. You hate us, we hate you. We get it. It's a great rivalry. But for all of sports, this is stupid. It is so idiotic. If people have season tickets, they should be able to sell said season tickets to whoever they want, not just those in their zip code. For all sports. Green Bay Packers season ticket holders, Detroit Lions season ticket holders, and Los Angeles Lakers season ticket holders. If you sell your tickets, you sell your tickets. How about an idea for those who are running teams? Offer a better environment, offer a better product, and people won't sell their tickets on the secondary market. That's it.
If I put my tickets on the secondary market, I can't control who buys it. Another Packers fan could buy it. A Bears fan could buy it.
That's what I'm saying.
Someone who
you
just
can't
wants to
revoke someone's season tickets because of that.
An NFL fan could buy it who just wants to experience a new stadium.
They just want to see football.
They just want to go to Lambeau Field. They've never been to Lambeau Field before. It's a historic stadium. It's one of the best football atmospheres in the game.
In the world.
And
I mean, name a better place to watch a sporting event than Lambeau Field,
Northwest Indiana,
in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Don't even start me on that. But do you understand? Like you're right. There could be people who are not from Wisconsin who want to travel and see Lambeau Field.
Exactly.
So why can't someone from Dallas or someone from Arizona, someone from Denver, be able to purchase said tickets on a secondary market or from someone who has season tickets?
I'm not checking IDs.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm not checking IDs when you go to buy my tickets. That's ridiculous.
In full disclosure, my family has Chicago Bears season tickets, so we are season ticket holders. And if we sell our tickets, we sell our tickets. It's crazy to tell someone that they can't sell their tickets. I just think, I saw the story yesterday that the Packers are warning Packer fans about this, and you're right. It's because they're soft, and it's because at the end of last season, a whole mess of Chicagoans went up there with the cheese graters on their heads, and when you play competitive games against the Green Bay Packers and the team who's not used to losing to your little brother, which that's what the Bears have been for the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. For my entire life, Green Bay has been better. Finally, Chicago is on an even playing field, and now they're worried about people in Chicago and in Illinois taking over Lambeau Field. So they're warning their fans that you can't sell your season tickets.
Because for the most part, the cost of going to a game at Lambeau has been less expensive. Because even though it's further away for someone in Chicago to go, odds are maybe you've never been to Lambeau Field, you want to go, and it's less expensive because it's a bigger stadium. You can go, like you can just buy a ticket and go. Now, obviously, for a playoff game, it's more expensive, but you want to travel, you want to see your team, and you want to see your team in a playoff game. If you want that, you're going to go. Like, if you want to see them at the end of the season, you're going to go. If you want to see them in the future, and if a playoff game is there, you're going to go. I'm going to keep buying them up. I say we start a fund. GoFundMe. And we buy them all up.
You're going to buy all the tickets?
Not me. I'm going to start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, you're going to have other people fund it for you.
Yeah, I'm going to start a GoFundMe. Listen, I'm not going to do anything.
Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. We did talk about a story at the end of last week. You mentioned you made the joke about Northwest Indiana. There was a story last week that the state of Indiana is preparing a bill to offer to the Chicago Bears to try and lure them to build a new stadium in Indiana. There were headlines that were out there last week about the Bears moving to Indiana. We were on the air telling you here on Westwood One Sports that nothing happened last week. There's nothing that took place. Although I can update that story and let everyone know that Abdalla and I were kind of pointing to Kevin Warren messing up this stadium situation. I was told over the weekend that the McCaskey family, the family that owns the Chicago Bears, not too happy with Kevin Warren and the way that he's handled this stadium situation. And the fact that people out there, the perception out there is that the Bears are moving to Indiana is not sitting well with the family.
Interesting.
Who owns the team.
Interesting.
So just add that to the background on this entire situation. When someone tells you that the Bears are moving to Indiana, the family's not happy that people think that.
Because they're not going there.
Well, we don't know yet.
No, they're not.
Perhaps they could. It's not an absolute no-go, but I think it's fascinating that the blowback here in Chicago over the weekend is that the family is not happy that Kevin Warren is out there letting people believe that this is a possibility. They own the land in Arlington Heights. It's a suburb west of Chicago. That is likely the place that they will end up. It's a lot of back and forth. Abdalla and I explained it. We posted a whole video on our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla Show. Check it out. We explained the whole back and forth. This has been going on for 5 years. The latest that I heard is that the McCaskies are not happy with the current situation.
Well, and then over the weekend, the Bears came out and said that they made progress with Illinois and Arlington Heights.
Yeah, well, that's a little backpedal. That's a little. Let's get back on.
Exactly.
Let's get back on defense.
That's
and
my
let
point.
people know that we're also focused on Illinois too.
There was a whole thing. It's like we've made this great progress with Indiana. We're going to start our site surveys and all that. It's like on a Saturday news dump. Ooh, we're also good with Arlington. Don't worry about it.
I don't think that was by mistake. I think that was done intentionally to get the information back out there that no, they are not solidified to moving to Indiana. Yes, Illinois is still on the table. And like we explained last week with this story, from where Abdalla and I are sitting currently in downtown Chicago, it is closer to get to that site in Indiana
I think
than
I
it
can
is.
see it from here.
You almost actually can. We almost have a clear shot across Lake Michigan from where we're sitting here at NBC Tower in downtown Chicago. And it is closer to get to Hammond, Indiana, but
It's not the point. The identity of the Bears is being in Chicago, is being the pride and joy of Illinois.
Well, yes. And when you find out that the family's not happy, that people are out there thinking that they're moving to Indiana, I think that adds a little context to those who think that they're going to move to Indiana. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. More from the Combine coming up next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right. We're on until 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports, the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM channel 375, all of our great radio affiliates across the country. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla, broadcasting live from Chicago. If you want to join the show, you can call us at 310-840-4910. Jim Rome coming up at 3 Eastern right here on Westwood One Sports. It's really the first day of the NFL Combine. Today's the day where all of the GMs get together. They meet with the different reporters. They talk. They're asked the questions about what's cooking down in Indianapolis as we get set for the NFL Draft. We're within 2 months of the NFL Draft, and the countdown is on as we get set for it here in the NFL offseason. And a lot of conversation today around some of those big storylines that we've discussed to this point this week about the NFL and what's going to happen here in the offseason. Mainly, the Las Vegas Raiders have been the number one storyline and topic that we've been following, whether it be with edge rusher Max Crosby or what the Raiders will do with the number one pick.
Yeah, and I think that all options are on the table for both things. You could either, and that's exactly what their GM has talked about, and I think going in to this week, that's exactly what everyone has speculated. What was going to be done with Max Crosby, and this is the week where, like you said, all the GMs, all the coaches, all the front offices are there. That's when offers will start to be thrown around. That's when smoke will turn into fire for some of these offers and speculations, mostly about Max Crosby, because while some smoke will be there about trading the first overall pick in what we assume the Raiders will draft Fernando Mendoza to be the future quarterback of their franchise, I highly doubt that they're going to move on and trade that pick unless they get an insane offer from a team that they absolutely can't turn down, multiple future firsts just to get that first round pick. Fernando Mendoza is most likely going to be a Raider in a couple months when the draft is in Pittsburgh. But they have a big decision to make with Max Crosby, and that you can either keep Max Crosby and he can remain a Raider, which is what they want, or you can trade him, which is what was been reported by Jay Glazer all the way back in the week of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was.
And so they can get picks, players. The market is there. There are a ton of teams that needs edge rushers. There's one Max Crosby.
I also feel like a lot of this is what you say publicly and what really will take place behind the scenes. What you say publicly is that we love Max Crosby. We want him to be a Raider. He's going to be a Raider for life. Meanwhile, you can also have those conversations about trading Max Crosby in this offseason. Vegas Raiders GM John Spytek told reporters at the Combine earlier today that he expects Max Crosby to be a Raider this upcoming season. He was asked if he thought that Crosby would remain in Vegas. This is what Spytek had to say.
I am. Max is an elite player, and I've been very upfront from the start when I got here that, we're in the business of having really good players on the team, and we need a lot more of them. And, it's hard to build a great team without elite players. I am. Max is an elite player, and I.
2 times. Spytek also went on to talk about the relationship he has with Max Crosby.
Max and I have a great relationship. He's in the building every day, getting healthy right now. We talk on the phone, we text. So I have a great relationship with Max. Max and I have had great conversations. I'm comfortable there, yeah.
So that's John Spytek, Raiders GM, talking about Max Crosby. And why would he say anything other than that right now? Like, I didn't expect Spytek to step to the mic today and be like, yeah, guy sucks, want to move him. Like, no one does that, right? So, like, it's not necessarily that surprising the way that the Raiders and Spytek are handling this, because I think they want people to believe that you really have to offer something good to get Crosby out of a Raiders uniform.
Well, and I also think that Max Crosby has handled this really well. All we've heard is the report from Jay Glazer from Fox say that he wants out. You haven't heard anything from Max Crosby. He's got his own podcast where he could have easily, he's had multiple opportunities.
Sure.
He's got a microphone. He could easily record a whole podcast listing the various reasons why he wants out. And he could give his, listen, I loved being a Raider and I loved being in Vegas and I loved all this stuff, but it's time for me to move on. He could go to social media and do the Notes app post and say, trade me. He could do anything he wanted to, right? But he hasn't. He hasn't done any of that. He was in the building, and Max Crosby met with Clint Kubiak the day that Clint Kubiak was introduced as head coach. And Clint Kubiak talked about getting coffee with Max Crosby and all that kind of stuff. So Max Crosby has been a good soldier so far throughout this process. So there's no reason why they couldn't work something out and Max Crosby remain a Raider. I just think it's in the best interest of the Raiders to move on from him, because they're not in a position to compete right now. Get more first-round picks. I don't even necessarily think that they should get a player in return. Get as many first-round picks as you can and build up your offensive line and protect Fernando Mendoza as your new quarterback.
Yeah, and I feel like Max Crosby is balancing a delicate kind of deal right now with the fan base where he's playing both sides. And I know publicly he hasn't said anything otherwise as if he wants to be out of Vegas. He hasn't done that publicly. But you mentioned the report from the Super Bowl from Jay Glazer. Jay Glazer, his sources usually are pretty tight with the players. Like I'm not seeing a Jay Glazer report and thinking like, where the hell did he get that from?
No.
Usually the Glazer reports are spot on, and usually he's got great relationships with the players. With that said, when we compare it to in another sport, there's another player who clearly has made a big stink about wanting to be elsewhere. And the player that I'm thinking of heading to the NBA trade deadline was Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Giannis now is trying to play the, I'm the good guy, I always wanted to be here, even though all of the reports and, what does Shams know? He doesn't know anything. They're wrong. Hey, little brother, tweet out something that Sharania doesn't know what he's talking about. So like he's got his brothers attacking the ESPN reports that Giannis wanted to be moved, and he's trying to play both sides. Mm-hmm. Giannis is trying to get his way, move on to a team that can compete for a championship while also act like he's always wanted to stay in Milwaukee and try and discredit any reports that are out there saying anything otherwise, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Max Crosby is doing that, but this is a better version of that.
No.
Like, I don't think it's boiled over to the fact where Raiders fans are mad at Max Crosby, because you're right. He's had the opportunity on his podcast in different settings to say, I want out of this. I don't want to be with the Vegas Raiders anymore. So I feel like it's a delicate balance. And I think Max Crosby is playing that right now well. Do you see the comparison? Like,
yes,
I feel like Giannis was too aggressive in trying to backpedal and say that he wants to be there after the fact when, dude, you wanted out of Milwaukee.
Well, my point is that you've got players in the league that are under contract and not going anywhere, and you get the feeling like they don't want to be on their team, like Lamar Jackson, who leaves the facility and doesn't come back until he absolutely has to. He's got a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator and can only meet with them on Zoom, maybe, right? And then you've got a guy like Max Crosby who is debatable whether or not he wants to be a Raider anymore, and he's in the facility meeting the new head coach and texting the GM and has a podcast where he could say, I want out, and has had multiple other guys from teams on his podcast and could have said, I want to play here, or I want to play there, or trade me here and trade me there, and hasn't done that. He's a guy that keeps going in and keeps going to work, as opposed to he could just be at home. Now, he did, when they sent him home during the regular season, post on social media.
He was upset
that he was, playing basketball and jumping on a trampoline because he wanted to. But I get that. He wants to play. He wants to be out there playing in a game, and they sent him home and said he was injured when he could have easily been out there playing. Now, he did have to have surgery, but he could have easily been out there playing, and that's why he said he claimed, the report is, he's not saying anything, the report is he wants out. That's the report. So, but he's still being a good teammate.
Right. I feel like, you're right on that. He could be kind of publicly displaying more displeasure at this moment, but it seems like, I've watched the podcast that he's posted here in the offseason. He's not outwardly talking about how he wants out of Vegas.
Yeah.
I do think he wants to win, and he does want to move on. And I do agree with the Jay Glazer reporter originally.
Of course, yeah.
That he wants to go to a different team, team that's competing, not a team that's rebuilding. That team that's rebuilding would be the Raiders, and they have the number 1 pick. Will Fernando Mendoza be the number 1 pick? John Spytek, the GM for the Raiders, talked to the reporters and talked about playing a young quarterback. This is what Spytek had to say.
I think you want to have as much pressure, or limit the amount of pressure you have on that guy from the start. Now, if you have a young quarterback, I'm not necessarily in favor of running him out there right away either. So Another quality player that can play the quarterback position if you have a young quarterback, and obviously a great offensive line, a run game, all the things that can limit his chances to really get killed, and a great defense too, because if he doesn't feel like he's got to go out there and score 35 points every week, I think that's helpful.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. And I think Spytek's right. Like, having a young quarterback, putting him out there and getting him killed is the best way to ruin a young quarterback in the development process that you have set up for said player. So Fernando Mendoza, if he's the number one pick, I'm assuming he's likely to be the number one pick. If you see that, and as you head towards this season, the best way to develop that player moving forward is you improve that offensive line and you take care of a young quarterback and you allow him to develop. Last season with Cam Ward, in the games that he played well, he was able to escape and make some great plays. But most of the time, when I turned on highlights or watched a game of Tennessee play last year, Cam Ward was getting killed back there.
Yeah.
Now, I think hopes are pretty high for Cam Ward. I do think, though, if you improve the offensive line in front of a young quarterback, that could just be a benefit to helping that player develop even sooner.
And the way you do that is through the draft, free agency, trades. You have a lot of money if you're the Raiders. You have all the draft capital right now. You have the number one pick. But the way you have that is to trade Max Crosby and acquire more draft capital and use those first-round picks. If you trade him to the Bears, you've got 25. If you trade it to the Cowboys, you've got 20. Let's say it's the Bucks, you've got 15. Whoever it is that needs an edge rusher, use that first-round pick on an offensive lineman, offensive tackle, right tackle, whatever, center, guard, whoever. Protect Fernando Mendoza. This is one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. You have to protect your most valuable asset, and that's going to be Fernando Mendoza.
A couple other news and notes coming out of Indianapolis today with the NFL Combine. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Falcons GM Ian Cunningham told 92.9 The Game in Atlanta that the team plans to release Kirk Cousins on the first day of the league year, which would be Wednesday, March 11th. So Kirk Cousins will be available. Any takers? Minnesota?
Yeah.
Vikings? Yeah. A little reunion with Cole's Cash with Kirk Cousins.
He's probably still got a house there, right? Right.
You're gonna link up. So Ian Cunningham, the Falcons GM, on the record saying that the Falcons will release Kirk Cousins on the first day of the league year. Something else that caught my eye that we have yet to talk about here on the show today. Did you see what Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni said about A.J. Brown? Quote, he can't guarantee that A.J. Brown will be back with the Eagles this season. I think that's not too shocking, but to admit that they don't think that A.J. Brown could be back with the Eagles on the free agent on the trade market, he's the best wide receiver that could be moved.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there is a move to be made by the Eagles sending A.J. Brown somewhere, a team looking for a wide receiver like Buffalo, like Denver, those are both teams that a player like A.J. Brown would immediately impact and help their wide receiver core and their offenses.
Well, and everything that went down last year and the way his relationship with Jalen Hurts and his lack of production really is what has more led to this. A.J. Brown is supposed to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and he had extremely costly drops down the stretch and in key situations, playoff games, everything last year, and it just doesn't seem like it's working out. And again, if you're the Eagles, you've got one of the best GMs in the league. You can take advantage of that and get the most value you can right now for A.J. Brown. I think it's time that they move on from A.J. Brown and get the most value you can for him and try to find another wide receiver that can take his place. And like I said, the production wasn't there last year, so it's not like it's going to be hard to replace it.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. If you want to join the conversation, you can call us at 310-840-4910. We go to Willis in Lisle. You're on with Bleck Abdalla. What's up, Willis?
Hey, Bleck. Hey, Abdalla. It's Lewis in Lisle.
Lewis in Lisle. Okay, what's up, Lewis? What's going on, man?
Oh, just enjoying the day. Just, had some thoughts about this whole thing with the Packers. It might be a little bit late, but, You guys are right. This is some, as Shane Norling would say, soft-ass behavior from the Green Bay Packers. I mean, this is even softer. You guys brought up the NHL. This is, at least then, it's their tickets that haven't been sold. This right here, you're punishing your fans for potentially selling tickets, not even necessarily to make money. People who go to funerals, people who may sell them to friends, people who can't go to every game, but they are huge fans and want the ability to go. What are we doing here? I've never even heard of the Bears doing this, have you? And we've had all the reason to because we have been a bad team.
Yeah, and thanks for the call, Lewis. Lewis, one last thing before we let you go. Why didn't you correct Laura when she asked if your name was Lewis?
I don't know. What was that?
Well, all right. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you. There he is. You
what was
can
that?
put him on hold.
I couldn't hear you. What was that?
Laura, you can put him on hold. There's
Hi,
Lewis and Lyle.
Lewis.
Thank you, Lewis. Thank you. Thank you. There's machinery in the background.
I don't know. I think he's at work or something. I don't know what he's doing. He's walking through a construction site.
Poor Laura. Laura's like, I asked him twice.
Yeah.
Lewis. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports.
Willis and Lyle. There's only one person that calls us from Lyle, Illinois.
Yeah, it's Lewis. And Laura knows this. And she said,
we had a whole conversation off air about Laura.
She's like, it's someone else. I double checked.
Who's in California and has no idea what Lyle, Illinois is. And we had to explain to her how it's not spelled Lyle. It's spelled Lisle.
Lissle.
It's spelled Lissle, but it's pronounced Lyle. Had to explain everything to her. She goes, you guys must be really popular in Lyle, Illinois. And we're like, I don't know about that.
Meanwhile, he's falling down in a well.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if there's heavy machinery.
Machinery in the background. He does make a good point. The Chicago Bears don't limit where you can sell your tickets on the secondary market. It was a story that we were talking about 15 minutes ago that the Green Bay Packers have warned their fans that if you're a season ticket holder and you sell your tickets, that they can revoke your season tickets.
Yeah.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. The Miami Dolphins, what will they do with Tua Tagovailoa? Dolphins GM John-Eric Sullivan talked about Tua's future. We'll hear from him coming up next.
First place in the Big East is on the line. Number 4, UConn. Number 15, St. John's. Tomorrow night, 7 Eastern tip on Westwood One and the Westwood One Sports app.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Keeping our eyes on all the action going on at the NFL Combine this week. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Tua Tagovailoa is a player that we know from reports earlier in this offseason that the Miami Dolphins want to move on from. It was reported by Adam Schefter about 2 weeks ago that both the Cardinals and the Dolphins want to trade their current quarterbacks. So that's Tua Tagovailoa and that's Kyler Murray. New Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan talked to the media earlier today about Tua's future.
To Tua, I know that question is coming, so I'll just get ahead of the curve. We've had conversations with Tua and his representation. Everything's on the table, including the potential of a trade. We don't know which way that's going to go. There's a lot of different factors at play, a lot of conversations being had. But evaluating the roster, Quinn did a nice job towards the end of the year. Excited about what's ahead for him. Tua, I thought, even though things didn't go well at the end of the year, did some good things along the way. And it's my job to infuse competition into that room along with every other room as we go down the road.
So there you go. There's John Eric Sullivan, the GM for the Miami Dolphins. New GM comes to Miami from formerly working in the Green Bay Packers front office. Tua Tagovailoa, they've already talked to the representation. A trade is on the table. I would be hard-pressed to figure out a team that would give up anything of great worth for Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know. Like, to me, unfortunately, the way his career arc has gone, he just screams, like, to me, to kind of mimic what we've seen with Marcus Mariota. Mariota has become one of the best backups in all of football.
Yeah.
When the starter goes down and Mariota goes in, no matter the team in recent years, you feel safe.
Yeah.
Now, you can't play that player for a full season as your starting quarterback and expect to make the playoffs. But if you're a winning team and there's like 2 games left in the season and you need to get there and you just need your quarterback not to mess things up, Marcus Mariota is certainly capable of doing that. And it feels like Tua is heading down that path where he is a career backup and he'll be one of the best backups in the NFL. And I would say the same thing about Daniel Jones. I think the Colts are crazy thinking that he's a long-term answer as their starter. But like Tua, like tell me why I'm wrong on that opinion, that Tua eventually will just be a backup quarterback kind of floating around the league. Kind of like another example I would give you would be Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo for years has been a very good backup.
Well,
but if he's your number one guy, you're likely not getting to the playoffs.
Garoppolo's the one guy that Kyle Shanahan could barely win with, right? Like Garoppolo's the one guy that you're like, even Shanahan
but
can't do this.
Garoppolo's still in the league, and he's
I understand
still a really
that.
good backup.
Yeah. But Garoppolo was in a game where he almost threw a couple interceptions, and Shanahan was like, "You're not throwing anymore," and they still won the game. You know, like they just ran the ball 70 times and they won the game because they told him to stop throwing the football because he almost threw like 3 interceptions. The problem with Tua's contract is that it's a $99 million cap hit if they do this. If they trade him post June 1st, you can split the cap hit half this year and half next year. If you could convince a team to take on some of that money, good for you. Congratulations. You're a better GM than I thought. But there has been conversation around the NFL about whether or not teams should wait because the Dolphins might just consider eating all of this money this year. They might just cut bait and say, you know what? The salary cap this year is going to be above, they're going to announce it sometime this week. It's going to be above $300 million. Let's just eat $99 million this year. We're not going to be competitive because here's the thing. I talked earlier in the show. If you missed it, check out the podcast. Wherever your podcasts are sold. This one's free, though. Our podcast is free, not like those other ones.
Okay, we
not
get
like
it.
those
We
other
get
ones.
it. Check out the podcast. Carry on.
Not like those other ones.
What are you doing?
SI.com, Albert Breer, the Monday morning quarterback, talked about that the Dolphins might be having a fire sale for for their players. And specifically, they've already started to sell off some of these players. They've already started to cut some players. They already cut Tyreek Hill, right? We know that they might now start to move on from A-Chain. They might move off from Waddle. If you're cutting all or trading all of your offensive players, why keep Tua around? What are you giving him to work with? Just cut bait at this point. Eat the $100 million this year, and then next year, you have the most money in the NFL to spend. You know you're going to be bad. This would be you can't really tank in the NFL. I mean, you can tank, but you can't really tank in the NFL because you have to try or else you'll get injured and all that kind of stuff. You can get a quarterback. You're not going to necessarily sign Malik Willis, but maybe you sign Cousins. Maybe you draft a quarterback and just put whoever's out there. So what you can do is cut Tua Tagovailoa, eat the $100 million, and from there have what the Titans have this year, $100 million in cap space going into next year. Could you see the Dolphins going into next year with $125 to $130 million in cap space and completely flipping around their roster and just spending whatever they want to while also at the same time being in the sweepstake for Arch Manning or Dante Moore or one of these quarterbacks and completely resetting their franchise and at the same time not having to pay any of this Tua money?
Yeah, I think the way you lay it out there, that's a smart thing to do. If Miami this offseason can get out from underneath the Tua contract and to just, for next season, have everything be fresh and ready to go, I think that's the best way for them to get back to sustainability and to competing in the AFC East. I think that makes the most sense, absolutely. I think the hardest thing for them to do would be if they continue to try and win with Tua while trying to remake the roster, get rid of some of those vets like they've already released, and then you have a team that certainly, without calling it what it is, because in the NFL it's acceptable. In the NBA, it's an outcry. Essentially, the Dolphins are setting themselves up to tank.
Yeah.
They're setting themselves up to tank this season intentionally to land a quarterback next year in the draft and to have all of the cap space that we enter this offseason with a team that did that. It's Tennessee. Tennessee has that blueprint, and Tennessee is what we are seeing. The outcome for what that took place in New England last year, a team that had a ton of cap space, that went out on free agency, and they already had the quarterback. The difference with Miami in comparing them to New England or comparing them to Tennessee in a possible outcome that we might see from the Titans this season is that they don't have the quarterback. So to start that process, you need a quarterback first. Once you get that quarterback, you may have a chance to then build around that player. So I think that's exactly what we're seeing with Miami, is that this is a tank. They are setting up for a tank job, and it's the right thing to do. And unlike the NBA, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem. Now, there might be Dolphin fans who are annoyed that their team is in this situation, but they also have to understand that moving forward, it gives them the best chance of getting back to being a competitive team, is if they can hit the bottom next year in the draft, have a top 5 pick, have their pick of whoever they want, whether it be Arch Manning, Dante Moore, whoever it is, next year at this time. And there's going to be various other college quarterbacks that are going to pop up throughout the college football season, and those guys will be the ones getting all the attention this time next year at the Combine.
Look, none of us think that Carson Beck is going to be a franchise quarterback. You can trade all these pieces, get future picks, whether it's this year, next year. Carson Beck played in Miami. He can play at Miami this year. He can stay in Miami, play for Miami this year. He can be a backup. You don't have to draft him in the first round. No one's telling you to do that. Draft him in the third, draft him in the fourth round if he's still there. And then he can play this year. That's fine too. Have him play this year. Sign someone off a scrap heap. Sign Joe Flacco if he wants to do that. Whatever you want to do. The point is, cut Tua, save the money, go into next year with all the money, be the worst team in the NFL, have the number 1 pick. Then you've got your pick of the quarterback. You can completely turn around. You could have what? If you do this the right way and trade Waddle and trade A-Chain and do all this, you could go into next year with 10 draft picks. You could have all of the money in the world. You could have the number 1 pick and completely flip this franchise in a year. That's all it would take is 2 years. Because you can go, I'm not going to say you're going to go worst to first in 2 years, but this is a good start, is to have all those first-round picks next year, or not the first-round picks, but to have all those draft picks next year and all that money next year and try to get the first overall pick.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, hanging out with you, talking football. If you want to call the show, you can call us at 310-840-4910. We'll take your phone calls until 3 o'clock, and then Jim Rome will take over here on Westwood One Sports. All right, so I want you to I'm going to read you a quote from Chicago Bears GM Ryan Poles. I'm going to read you this quote, and I want you to decipher what this quote really means. Here's the quote from Ryan Poles on DJ Moore, wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Quote, "We want him here. We're thinking highly of him. But this is the time now where we have to look at all scenarios that will allow us to build the best team out there. He's a guy we want here, but we have to look at all scenarios," end quote, from Ryan Poles. Abdalla, what does that mean to you when a GM of a team talking about specific player saying that we want this guy to be here, we think highly of him, but we also have to look at all scenarios, and when we're building a team, we have to consider all of the different scenarios?
Well, it means that the Bears have Luther Burden and Roma Dunze and Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet and a plethora of weapons. And DJ Moore, you just don't belong. And your contract is very expensive, and you don't live up to it. And I'm sorry, but if we can trade you and get something better in return, we're going to do that. Now, I don't think that DJ Moore is going to get you like a first-round pick in return, but he'd be a nice piece to send to the Raiders for Max Crosby along with a first-round pick and some other things.
Yep.
That would be a nice piece to put together.
It would be a nice piece.
He's got a pretty hefty contract. So, I mean, his cap hit this year is $28 million. His dead cap is $35 million. So if you traded him, if you swapped him and Max Crosby, it'd be decent. And I think if you included, obviously you'd have to include a first-round pick this year. I don't know if you'd have to include 2 first-round picks. That depends on how high the market is.
Yeah.
If other teams start including 2 first-round picks and players, you might have to include 2 first-round picks. And I wonder how high Ryan Poles, Bears GM, would be willing to go to include DJ Moore to get Max Crosby back.
I don't know if I think DJ Moore is a really good player, and I think the Chicago Bears value him as a really big player. But I don't know if they view it as someone who's unmovable.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see the vague response from Ryan Poles is that, yeah, they're probably putting feelers out there on whether or not teams are interested in DJ Moore, because moving that contract away would then give the Chicago Bears a little bit more flexibility in regards to trying to fix the defense. And that's the biggest thing is with the Chicago Bears, there's one thing that I feel very confident in going forward. Their offense is going to put up points, whether that be any mix of wide receivers with Caleb Williams and that offensive line and that run game. I think Ben Johnson gets the most out of his offense, no matter who the personnel is. So I don't think having a designated number 1 wide receiver like DJ Moore is that necessary, especially when you hope that Rome Odunze and Luther Burden take the next step. And if those guys take the next step, then unfortunately, I think DJ Moore is the odd man out, and you try and get something for him moving forward.
Well, yeah, and Rome Odunze was a top 10 pick, man. Like, it's time to step up and be a number 1 wide receiver. Like, you and Caleb were picked in the same class. Like, it's time to step up and develop into, like, he had a decent amount of drops last year. He struggled at times in big moments. And it's time for Rome Odunze to...
Well, don't even get me started on the last play of the season where DJ Moore gave up on a route.
No, I'm talking about Rome. Like, Rome needs to step up.
Yeah, and Rome does too.
Like,
yeah.
Rome's a top... I said Rome's a top 10 pick. He's got to step up and become that number 1 wide receiver. And this is... And I know, like, Colston Loveland has become that main target for Caleb Williams, but Rome was drafted to be a number 1 wide receiver. He needs to step up and be that guy.
Do we have news on Breece Hall? Will the running back for the Jets be back in New York City? We'll talk about that next.
How long will the Steelers wait around for a decision from Aaron Rodgers? Or could Mike McCarthy and company be in the market for a QB in free agency? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Thanks to Raj and Laura for producing today's show. Bleck and Abdalla, noon to 3 Eastern each and every day right here on Westwood One Sports. Jim Rome is coming up in 17 minutes right here on Westwood One Sports. Make sure you check out our podcast, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey. You can download our podcast. Also, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Bleck and Abdalla Show. That's where our show is broadcasted live. The video is live each and every day right there on YouTube. Bleck and Abdalla Show. Like and subscribe. And also new content is posted on the YouTube channel each and every day here on Bleck and Abdalla. We will return tomorrow, noon to 3 Eastern, right here on Westwood One Sports. Breece Hall is expected to be back with the Jets next season because Jets GM Daryl Mugie told the reporters in Indianapolis for the scouting combine that if they don't sign him, if they can't sign him, they will tag him, whether it be a franchise tag or the transitional tag. So Hall expected to be back with the Jets this upcoming season. And if he were not, and he was on the open market, he would be one of the top running backs, if not the top running back on the free agent market as we head towards free agency.
Yeah, and that's huge. You know, if he plays on that, and for the Jets, they need as much help as they can get, because right now, what are they going to do at quarterback? And you need a good running game to support whatever they do. It's not going to be Justin Fields. I don't think it's going to be. Are they in the Malik Willis market? Are they going to be, I doubt it's going to be Kirk Cousins, but I don't think they have a lot of options right now unless they draft and start someone right away. But again, with it only being really a one quarterback draft, I don't think they're going to draft someone that high. So they draft someone late and sign someone like Malik Willis, and you have to support with a good running back with a good offensive line.
Yeah.
So this would add to that.
You know, and speaking about that, you mentioned Malik Willis. As we enter this free agency conversation in the NFL here in the offseason, many people view Malik Willis as the best free agent available. Now, that also kind of goes back to the conversation of like, what's your biggest need? If you're a team that needs a quarterback and you're not picking first in the draft, the Raiders, I could understand suggesting that Malik Willis is the best free agent on the market. If you're not the Jets or you're not a team that's Arizona, who's looking for a quarterback and you're at the top of the board, but you're not the Raiders, I understand why Malik Willis is the, quote, best free agent on the market. Outside of that, if you're not a team looking for a quarterback in free agency as your starter this year, he is not the best free agent on the market. There's no way. Like, I think this entire conversation is overinflating Malik Willis, what he really is. He's a backup quarterback. He is not. I will admit it fully on this show. If we're sitting here a year from now talking about Malik Willis as the surprise of the National Football League, I will admit it. I will own it. I don't see that happening. Yeah. I don't think that that's going to be the case.
I think that right now, assuming he is a free agent, we don't know what the Bengals are going to do. Trey Hendrickson is the best free agent on the market.
I agree with that. That's a player who's actually done something in the NFL before.
Yeah.
I know credentials.
I know he's coming off an injury season, but he only played in 7 games. But 2 years before that, he had 17.5 sacks each, not combined, each season, 17.5 sacks. 7 last year because he only played in 7 games. He only played in 7 games, but I think that with Malik Willis, this is just a right place, right time. He played really well when he did play last year. LaFleur coaches up quarterbacks really well in spot starts like this. And because of the lack of talent that is out there, this is what is there. Like, Malik Willis is there.
It's the best available option of a bunch of options that are not very good.
Yeah.
I compared it to last week, and I'm not trying to make a joke of when there's natural disasters, but I made it to the reference of when you see that there's a natural disaster taking place and people rush the supermarket and all of the fresh water is gone, but then you see Dasani sitting there, cases of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, where's the Ice Mountain? Where's the Fiji? Where's all the different options? And it feels like with the quarterback market that Dasani is just sitting there, a backup quarterback he's not going to turn into Sam Darnold. He's not going to turn into Baker Mayfield. And even Geno Smith, you got a couple of good seasons.
He did.
Seattle and originally with the Raiders to get things going as a guy that failed out in that one spot and then later in his career producing well. Like, I just think people are overvaluing Malik Willis in this offseason.
I think the issue is he's not going to go to the right situation. He's not going to the Vikings to start. If he did, I would be a little more on the side of Malik Willis to be like, okay, maybe. But that's because of Kevin O'Connell. That's because I've seen Kevin O'Connell get the most out of Sam Darnold and they let him walk. I saw what Daniel Jones leaving the Viking system and going to the Colts, and I saw what that turned into. If the Vikings sign Malik Willis and he wins a battle between him and J.J. McCarthy, then I'm like, okay, well, now we're talking because he's got Justin Jefferson as a weapon. He's got that elite defense. Like, now we're talking about a team that I could see Malik Willis working out for. He goes to the Jets. What are we doing here?
Well, list off the 3 teams that we've discussed who could be the ones interested.
It's the Jets.
It's the Cardinals.
Yeah.
It's the Dolphins.
Yeah.
We just spent 10 minutes on this show like 15 minutes ago talking about how we think the Dolphins are tanking the season.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that that's going to work well for Malik Willis in the long run.
No. And I feel like someone is going to, like, I know there's a certain amount of quarterbacks and a certain amount of jobs and teams. I feel like someone is going to get left out and get stuck with a...
Like it's musical chairs?
Yeah. I mean, think about it, okay? Aaron Rodgers is going to the Steelers.
What's the song that plays for quarterback musical chairs? Is it the NFL on Fox song?
It's the injuries music. It's the NFL. It's the NFL on Fox injury music. The Aaron Rodgers is going to the Steelers. Take that one off the board.
Okay.
Right. That doesn't count.
The board.
Okay.
Yep.
Mendoza's a Raider. That doesn't count. Right. So we've got the Jets, we've got the Cardinals, and we've got the Dolphins. And someone is going to go to the Vikings. Someone's going to the Vikings.
Yeah.
And you've got Cousins, you've got Tua, you've got Kyler, and you've got Malik Willis. So you've got 4 jobs, you've got 4 quarterbacks.
Yep.
I don't like these options for any of them.
No, and that's why I was saying.
I don't like these. Like, what do you do? Like, are you just calling the Cardinals if you're the Dolphins and you're like, hey, straight up?
Don't give us the injury music from Fox. No, that's not. Meanwhile, Tua. Is there a perfect song for Tua Tagovailoa in his career to this point?
Oh, that's so mean.
No, you're right. If they swap between each other, I mean, do they just all throw their keys in a dish and then whoever ends up with whoever? That's how you spend
might
the
as
night?
well. You might as well. The only thing I know for a fact is that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler because he can't go back to the Jets.
Yes,
like you can't do that.
I think that's true.
And it's too perfect for him to go back to the to the Vikings.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Chris Bleck, Adam Abdalla. Abdalla, you are a ball knower when it comes to television.
I watch too much TV.
You're someone who watches a lot of television. So I saw this post online about TV ratings from the last 35 days.
Okay.
So this is every single show that's been streamed or broadcasted over the last 35 days. And this does not have any sports in it. These are all TV shows.
Oh, God.
I want you to tell me.
I don't watch any new TV.
Give me a quick synopsis of what some of these shows are.
Okay.
And I'm not going to ask you about the ones that I assume most people know. Like Stranger Things is number 1.
Oh, yeah. We know that.
Most people know Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's about Eggo waffles, right?
Sure. The number 2 show, the most watched show in the last 35 days is the Sean Combs show, the P. Diddy show on Netflix.
Oh,
we know what that's about.
Yeah, with 50 Cent, the most petty man in the world. It's awesome.
Number 3 is Landman. I feel like most people know that. Do you know what Tracker is?
Yeah, it's about a tracker is about a dude that goes and finds people that are missing. I see the tracker trailers I think it's on CBS.
It is on CBS.
And I see the tracker trailers during football.
Okay. All right. You nailed that. Okay.
Yeah.
How about this? Sheriff Country.
Sheriff Country.
It's the 10th most watched show in the last 35 days.
Sheriff Country is it also on CBS?
It is also on CBS.
All right, all these shows are on CBS. I'm going to get a lot of this week when I'm at my parents. Sheriff Country, I would imagine, is about a bunch of gruffy sheriffs that are still abiding by the law to catch criminals.
The 11th most watched show in the last 35 days, Ghosts.
Oh, everybody knows what Ghosts about. That's definitely a CBS show.
It is a CBS
show. It's about one person that can see all these ghosts. One of them's got like the arrow through the head. And like, yeah, that's awesome. You see that on against football too.
And finally, George and Mandy's First Marriage.
Oh, that's about these 2 kids. They just got married, and I think they have a baby.
Jim Rome is next.
Yeah.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds.